There are so many benefits to being in a fasted state. For example, low insulin levels. When insulin levels are low, you're able to burn body fat. When insulin levels are high, you really can't burn body fat. Insulin is the storage hormone, so keep that in mind. That's one of the major benefits of fasting. Plus, when you're fasting, for example, you're doing a 16-8, where you're fasting for 16 hours, taking in all your calories with an 8-hour eating window, you're actually reducing calories. Most people will just eat so much less food when they're fasting for 16 hours and then condensing all their meals with an 8-hour eating window. And my favorite protocol to follow is 2 meals during your 8-hour eating window. I think that's almost ideal. It's a good long-term strategy as long as you take some diet breaks, which is another big part of my program. Every 5-6 weeks, I like to take a break from 16-8, up your calories. It kind of boosts the metabolism a little bit. Take a week off, then you go right back into your normal 16-8 eating schedule. But let's also talk about the macros, like how I like to break up the macros. I like about 55 to 60% of my calories coming from fat. I like about 20 to 25% coming from protein, and I like about 10 to 15% coming from carbohydrates. And the key to this is, and I made a little notation down here too, I don't really want people chasing fat, meaning that you don't have to add butter to your coffee. You don't have to douse things with mayonnaise. You really want to eat whole natural foods. For example, you'll see when we go through the different meals, like when you're eating salmon, just think salmon is really high in fat. You're getting so much fat right there from salmon. Generally, when you take in your protein, that's when you're going to get your fats. And things like avocados as well. I eat an avocado every single day, and you'll see that when we get to the meal plan. So don't necessarily add fat. Yes, you could add extra virgin olive oil. Be generous with it when you're sauteing vegetables, when you're putting on your salads. Yes, add extra virgin olive oil, but you don't really have to chase after fat. And these are pretty much my favorite macronutrient ratio. I'm also gonna, below this video, once I finish the video, I'll give you if you give me your email, you'll see, I'll send you this PDF of exactly how I break down the macros, and it gives even a little bit of idea of what the ideal amount of calories you should be eating when it comes to weight loss. Even though when you're fasting, you can actually, lose weight and improve your health without really counting calories. Counting calories long term is really not a great weight loss strategy, but initially it's nice to have an idea of where you're at calorie wise. Okay, now let's break down some of these meals. I'm going to close out this slide, and bear with me with the software. I'm still not an expert with this software. I'm using something called Ecom Live, and it's somewhat of a learning process. Okay, this is an ideal meal. This is like what I consider perfect meal structure when you're breaking your fast. So for example, say you fasted 16 hours, and it's around 12, 1 o'clock, and you want to have your first meal. And this is what I do a lot of times. See, for example, the shrimp and the string beans from this meal was left over from the dinner from the night before. So sometimes I will include that. See, I want to stick with the macro ratio like we talked about here. So you want good quality protein. Like sardines to me is just unbeatable. And once again, if you have any question, drop. I should see the comments popping up. Any question about anything, let me know. But at the end, I'll also hang around if you have any questions about, intermittent fasting, general fitness, health, things along the lines of that in general. So, sardines, incredible source of protein, high in omega-3s, high in those good, healthy fats. Plus, what I like about the sardines so much is that you're getting the skin, you're getting the connective tissue of the sardines, there's bones, they're getting the calcium, the bones. I eat sardines almost every day, and I buy a wild-caught version of them and a PBA-free can. I'm a little neurotic. I really want the healthiest type, sources of protein as possible. And these are some wild-caught Gulf shrimp, from the night before. So I'm probably getting, a general rule, every 4 ounces of animal protein like chicken, fish, meat, it's about 25 grams. So I'm probably getting about 50 grams of protein right here, at least 4 ounces of each, which is great. Then also high in fat, sticking with what I said initially. You're not chasing after fat, you're getting your fat from your whole natural foods. Then number 2 here, the avocados. Avocado, in my opinion, is like a superfood. Nothing better. Loaded with those monounsaturated fats, so good for you. Loaded with fiber. So the net grams of an avocado is actually relatively low. So people say, "Oh, Mike, you're a component of a low carb. You're a low carb eater. Why are you always eating avocados?" But the net carbs are so low on avocado. So how do you figure out net carbs? Is then you take fiber minus it from total carbohydrates. that gets your net carbs. So you may get like 20, 23 grams of carbs in an avocado, but there could be 17, 15, 16, 17 grams of fiber. So you're really only getting 5 or 6 net grams carbohydrates, which is incredible. Then we got a little bit of sauteed string beans, olive oil, a little fresh garlic, which is incredible. High fiber. Most of my carbohydrates and the most of the carbs that I recommend are going to be high fiber type carbs. A lot of very nutrient dense, a lot of bang for your buck. Since you're eating a relatively low carbohydrate diet, you want all the carbs in your diet really to count, because you're keeping them low, about 10, 15%. It's hard to say exactly. If you get that PDF, you'll see it breaks it down. But let's say if you're a big guy or gal, you're over 200 pounds, maybe you're eating 100 grams of carbs a day. If you're petite, you're only 100 pounds, 115 pounds, maybe you're only eating 50, 60 grams of carbs. So somewhere along the lines of that. And I always like to include some fermented food. See, fermented food is so good. If you pickle, almost no calories, but it's fermented. It feeds the good bacteria in your stomach. Similar to apple cider vinegar, studies have shown that taking in a fermented food actually lowers blood sugar post-meal. So it's a great thing to do. I always eat fermented food. If I don't have, you'll see in some of the other slides, I'm not having a pickle, maybe I'll have some sauerkraut. So to me, this is an ideal meal to break your fast around 12, 2 o'clock if you're doing, say, a 16-8. Okay, now let's pop up another meal here. Another great way to break your fast. Pasture-raised eggs. I don't buy the regular eggs. I always buy pasture-raised, hens that are just like eating the grass, so you get all the good oils, all the good omega-3s, as opposed to just buying those like mass-produced type factories and farms where they're raising these chickens. They're much lower in the omega-3. So every egg, 70 grams of protein. I think there's like a 4-egg omelet here. So I'm probably getting over 20 grams of protein there. Back with my sardines, back with my avocado and pickle. Can't beat it. Incredible way to break your fast around 12, 1 o'clock if you're doing 16-8. Let's pop up another lunch idea. If you notice, I eat a lot of the same foods over and over again, which I think is totally okay as long as you're picking incredibly healthy, nutrient-dense type food. So, for example, here, instead of the eggs, I swap the eggs out, and I always buy these grass-finished, like pasture-raised, beef patties. This is one here. This is 4 ounces, 25 grams of protein there, 25 grams of protein with my sardines, avocado, like I explained. Now we got a little sauerkraut. So we're increasing the fermented food. So even healthy, we'll get going for a double whammy on the sauerkraut and the pickles. These are all incredible ways. Now I'm also going to pop something else up here before I go over to the dinners. So I typically would eat 2 meals a day. That's what I really love. But I will supplement sometimes. Like, for example, maybe after a meal like that, another thing I like to do, like I talked about briefly before, I like to take maybe a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar in water. Apple cider vinegar has acidic acid, which actually helps control blood sugar. Great for weight loss. I think great for health. Incredible things to do. Sometimes, for example, if I didn't have fish that particular day, like say I just went with 2 beef patties for lunch, I may take a tablespoon of fish oil. This is a good brand, the Carlson's brand. It's not a rancid, good quality oil. I increase my omega-3s right there. Another thing I might do, I typically work out in a fasted state, but a lot of times, sometimes if I'm doing like a really hard like resistance training workout and I'm somewhat a little bit hungry, just want a little something, I like to do these green drinks. This is one of the brands I really like to go with. It's called Essential Greens, only about 60, 70 calories, loaded with potassium. You get about 1,200 milligrams of potassium for only, 50, 60 calories. Incredible. Because that's what I think people are missing mostly in their diet, especially if they're fasting all the time, is potassium, magnesium. Especially if you're eating low carbs, you're not eating tons of fruits, you're not eating, tons of, you're not drinking orange juice, which is high in like potassium because it's too many calories, too sugary. I like to go with these green drinks. I like to put in maybe a couple of scoops of this collagen protein powder. This is like an ideal like pre-workout drink for me on the days that I feel like I need something when I'm doing maybe a hard resistance training workout, or if I'm not doing a workout fasted. Whenever I do my long walks, I always do those in a fasted state. Okay, so that's something you may want to consider there too. So let's check out some dinners. Okay, this is what I would consider just an ideal dinner. This is my like meal structure for dinners. I like a nice big piece of protein. You'll see some of the other pictures. Generally fish. I lean towards pescatarian, but obviously I do eat some red meat. I have it. This is probably, it's hard to tell from the picture. This is almost a pound. So I'm getting almost 100 grams of protein right here. And then I always like to pick 2 different colored vegetables. Different vitamins, different minerals, different nutrients. So I'm going here with cauliflower. This is seasoned I think with like curry style. And then we got broccoli, white and a green. Can't go wrong. Perfect meal structure. Getting my fiber here, getting a lot of protein. These are sauteed or cooked with a little extra virgin olive oil. Sometimes we'll use maybe some coconut oil or avocado oil. Those are the types of oils that we use. We stay away from those those processed type oils, the corn oils, the highly oxidized oils. We stay away from all the bad oils. Let's pop up a different dinner. Let's see what else we got here. Let's see. Okay, here's another one. Also, I think this is salmon. Hard for me to tell from the picture, but I think it's a salmon steak. Now we got some beets here, tomato, arugula salad. Ideal meal structure. This is how you have to eat: whole, natural foods, low carbohydrate, pretty high protein, high fat, but the fats come from the food, the natural food. Like this piece of salmon is loaded with healthy omega-3, healthy fats, and obviously this is all sauteed in I think the beets was sauteed in olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, and obviously we got a little balsamic vinegar. Same thing, just so you know, balsamic vinegar, all vinegars like this, high in acidic acid, just like the apple cider vinegar. Actually, I learned this from Dr. Stephen Gungy, the Plant Paradox. I read all his books. He likes to take a tablespoon of balsamic vinegar, mix it in like Pellegrino mineral water. That's instead of drinking like soda for him. And I love it too. I do it all the time too. But just putting balsamic vinegar on a salad is actually going to lower your blood sugar post-meal. So start cooking with vinegar. Even if you want to eat things that are like kind of on the starchy side, like you can even take potatoes and you can soak them in vinegar. Especially if you eat the potatoes cold. So if you take a white potato, for example, and keep it in the refrigerator overnight, it becomes a resistant starch, meaning that it's resistant to digestion. You're not going to digest all the calories and all the carbohydrates in it. It almost becomes more fibrous, especially if you take cold potatoes soaked in vinegar. That's a great trick to lower blood sugar and to prevent that spike, that insulin spike as well too. Okay, let's pop up another meal. I think I have one more dinner here. Or is that the only one I have? Let's see. Did I have one more? Let's see. I guess that's about it. I guess I went through it all. Okay. Now, does anyone have any questions out there? Anyone out there? I hope the sound is good. I think I've seen a couple of people pop in. I haven't been seeing any names or anything though, but hopefully. Okay. Well, I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions about intermittent fasting, time-restricted eating, just so you know, the difference between intermittent fasting and time-restricted eating is if you do 16-8 every single day, I would call that time-restricted eating because doing it every day. Or if you're doing 16-8 intermittently, that's why I call it intermittent fasting. You're doing it 2, 3, 4, 5 days a week. The big difference for me, I find that if you start doing these fasting protocols every single day, some people wind up, staying in a calorie deficit for too long. That's why I like taking those diet breaks. So say you're doing 16-8 every single day. So you're doing time-restricted eating. You're going 4, 5, 6 weeks. After like 5 or 6 weeks, I would always take a diet break. Take a week up your calories. Because there is something called that set point theory of weight loss, which definitely I think is true. Meaning that, when you start losing weight, your metabolism is always going to slow down to some degree because you're smaller. Just think as a way of surviving. You're just not as big. You don't eat as many calories. But also, it seems like everyone is always trying to get back to this set point weight, a particular weight. For example, if you've been overweight for, say, 10 years, say you're 200 pounds, your ideal weight is maybe like 160. You're 40 pounds overweight and you've been there for 10 years and you lose 20 pounds, your body's going to fight and do anything it can to get right back up to that set point, that 200 pounds, and to slow down your metabolism. And calorie restriction does slow down the metabolism. So by taking these diet breaks, I think it's a way to boost up your metabolism. So if you're doing 16-8 every single day and you feel like you are in a calorie deficit after like 5 or 6 weeks, and maybe you hit a weight loss plateau, taking a diet break is a great idea. Just take a week off. Don't get upset if you gain a pound or so. But then when you start up again back to 16-8, it'll sustain your weight loss. It'll boost your metabolism a little bit. Great trick. But if you're doing it intermittently, like if you're doing 16-8 only like 2 or 3 days per week, you're automatically cycling your calories, right? So on the days you're doing 16-8, you're eating less. On the days you're just eating normally, you're eating more, and that's going to help minimize the slowdown in your metabolism when you're losing weight. Good for long-term weight loss. I love intermittent fasting, doing it intermittently, and that's when all the other different fasting protocols come into play. Like I just recently, I always talk about my clients if you follow me on my channel. I just had a woman who was doing like 16-8 consistently, like every day, did incredibly well for like 10 months. She lost like 18 pounds. All of a sudden, her weight loss stopped. I think her metabolism just really slowed down. So what we did then, first we took like a week off, up the calories, and then we switched over to more of a 24-hour fast, a couple days per week, which really worked well for her. We did that for a while. She started losing weight again, and now she does one 24-hour fast once a week, and then she intermittently does 16-8, and it seems to be sustaining her weight loss. She's doing incredibly well. Okay, so anyone out there, any questions for anyone? Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed these live videos. I'm gonna try to go live like once a week. I kind of did it impromptu now, but I'm going to start announcing it, and hopefully, we'll try to get a lot of people on these live broadcasts with me, asking questions, this and that. Okay, take care, everyone. And also, if you want that PDF, you'll see I'll load it up below this video. Take care, everyone.